ProducerHax, a game dev podcast where we're going to talk about games, the gaming industry, what we're into, what we do as producers, and more things like that. My name's Blair. I work at BioWare as a producer, and with me, as always,
I'm Billy, also a producer at BioWare, and as Blair said, we're going to talk a lot about just various topics within game development as a whole, and then how we kind of play into all that, and what we've done over our careers, but also various topics from how we got in, how we got into streaming, the whole works, right? So
yeah, and we'll start. We'll take questions, throw it up to the chat, whatever. You guys can ask us anything. Starting next week, we'll start asking questions on Friday on Twitter, and then for people that can't make it, and so we can answer them maybe in the second half of the show. Anyways, so this is gonna be about an hour, maybe. We'll see how the content goes. But today to start. Maybe just, Billy, how did we get into Twitch? Because we spend a lot of time on it.
Yeah.
Some people may know us from, I guess, last year around this time. We started up something called Dragons and Donuts through the BioWare channel. What was that? Why did we do it? What the hell, Twitch?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. So Blair and I were both assigned to the live service from Dragon Age Multiplayer, and we were both avid fans of watching Twitch streams, essentially. And
yep.
We streamed a lot, we watched a lot of streams, and we were getting really into it and following a lot of different folks. And we knew there was an appetite, I think, for folks to see more of Twitch because we saw what happened with the announcement reveals and everything prior to launch of DAI.
Not a lot of companies were doing Twitch as a promotional tool yet.
Yeah.
So we really thought there was something there. It's where the market was trending. It's where a lot of people were spending more time than, say, YouTube, at least I thought.
Yeah.
It was more interactive. It was more live. It was super cool. And I know it'd been around for a while, but not in the sense of big marketing beats. It wasn't a big thing for companies like Bethesda, BioWare, and other ones like that. So
I think, it's starting to develop, and it's something that we had a definite interest in. And so we just kind of one day said, what if we did this? The tricky part about doing live development where we were at is that you have to do patches a lot of times.
Yeah.
Patches take time to not only build, test, and then prop up to the servers, whether you do it for the server or if it's like what we call a client patch. So we were kind of going like, man, the turnaround time to do this is going to be insane. But if we did something like weekend events, that's one thing. And we said, well, how could we draw more attention to like a weekend event? And we just kind of like put two and two together. So like if you did a Twitch stream to literally kick off the event, and talk to people about walking them through it, because there's only so much we can do in the UI of the game, right? Yeah. After that, we have to hope you either pick up on it yourself as a player, or someone else is very savvy and kind of like pushes that forward to the rest of the group. And even then, it's a small audience, right? It might be BSN, it might be Twitter.
It was about
Twitch.
trying to hit as many different avenues as possible to get it out to the different groups of people that play our games. So we found our fans on Twitch were not the same fans on Twitter. We're not the same fans on the BSN. I remember reading posts of people specifically in the forum saying, somebody update me, what did they talk about on Twitch today, because I don't watch Twitch. And so you need to hit all the different avenues to make sure you're getting a really wide swath of people when you're producing a live service or live content, because you don't know where all of your fans are. Analytics helps a lot with that too, but you also have to be pretty hip to what's going on now. So if, Periscope, maybe that's the next thing. I don't know. I heard that's a thing. The kids these days.
It's crazy, man. The Periscope and the Vines.
The Vine.
Vine's fun. Yeah. But yeah, I really started that. We're watching the Twitch chat, and I like what Liv said here is that don't watch streamers that don't look at the chat, don't interact, and that was a big part of going to Twitch. Is that Twitch it's live. There's a certain amount of like fun that comes into just having to do something live. Like we joke about that old Bill O'Reilly saying,
we're doing it live.
We're doing it live. There's a few words that come before that, but it was that idea that when it suddenly feels more human, you're going to interact with those folks,
because we're people.
We wanted to see and show the human element of game development, and I think that's
we're not a faceless game company.
Yes, exactly. I think it's easy to kind of like disassociate that people are working on a product when all you see is like the marketing beats all the time. So
Yep.
you said, that was
or the patch notes, like, so a very tech heavy beat that just looks like,
here's math. Oh.
Yeah, here's
There goes my head, right? So
yeah. So that's why we kind of approach the studio and recommend it, like, hey, here's something we really want to do. Here's something we can, I think, help our community with. Here's value add. Speaking of it, like, because you got to sell it as a producer. You have to be a champion of whatever it is you want to push. So we really, really felt strongly about Twitch, and it was about motivating the people around us to also get them on board. Because right at the start, a lot of people are like, no, there's not enough people watching, or it's not going to hit the right markets. We don't want to split the message that maybe marketing or community saying. Also, things like, can we trust two random people? Like, will you slip up? Can you leak something by somebody asking a question? You're not paying attention right at that moment, and you answer. It's like, oh yeah, we totally got a guy called the Virtuoso coming out. It's like, no, no. So it was a lot of that. So it was a lot of a producer's role in something like that is championing a vision or an idea and motivating people to also think that this is a great idea and want to get on board. So it was a few months of that, getting all the right things in place, because you have to put together a pitch proposal. I guess what it is. So it's like, here's what this will do for you, the studio. Here's what we think it can add value-wise, and here's the return on investment, because it does cost something, right? It's
time,
me, you,
opportunity cost, right?
Two community guys, a tech guy, getting the channel up and running, all the assets that had to be made for screens. We needed QA support to get the build running every week, programming support to make sure that the box we were using to play was also updated with, because that's an internal kit, right? It was there's lots of moving pieces, and to sell that to the studio, to be like, no, you're going to spend whatever, 7 people's time for a day, that they could be working on something else to do this thing that we feel passionately about. You really need to get the buy-in, and obviously BioWare was super awesome, super supportive. Aaron was all about it. Mark was all about it too. It was a test bed, right? We're just like, let's try out stuff. We're setting up the studio. We're testing this stuff out for the studio kind of as well, right? So in the future, if we wanted to do more stuff like this, we would have at least some people with some of the knowledge. Whether it's Connell and Sean on the community side, Patrick with tech support, us with hosting, finding out that that's a horribly hard thing to do.
Yes, absolutely. I think they had a lot of value for us, because early on we said there's lessons for the studio, there's lessons for us, there's a combination of the two, there's a definite overlap. But I think what you mentioned about the opportunity cost is a big part of it, and we talk about this even to this day, in the studio right now, just ongoing discussion of like, how involved will the studio be with Twitch, and how involved will we be involved with that, and that effort isn't for free. Producers, we like to use the word free. It gets us in trouble with the dev team from time to time, but it's that idea that it's not necessarily free, but it's the opportunity cost is so low, or the investment is so low, but the payoff can be so huge.
Could be huge,
and I think that's it, right? You have to say it's that potential sometimes. So.
And it was also, there was the potential for the company, and there was also the potential for just personal development. So we learned, like, a big thing about producers doing demos, going to conventions and playing and talking with press and stuff, and a lot of times you have to play and talk at the same time.
Yes.
And that is super hard.
Yes.
I know a lot of you that Twitch with us, it's a very different way to play when you're trying to explain or trying to get a point across. I think it really helped us doing the Twitch stuff, to be able to talk, to be able to play, and also, community learned things about how do we promote Twitch, what do we do, we need overlays, all this kind of stuff. There's new art. I think everybody learned new skills, so there was opportunity both for the studio and for personal development, which in turn personal development feeds back into helping the studio.
Exactly. It's a cyclical thing, right? We talk about this a lot, but one of the things I really kind of pitched to Mark and to a few other folks at the studio at the time was that and we've got some great supporters, which is really, really helpful. But I think the one thing that I was really pushing for was yes, as producers, we have to become better public speakers.
Yeah.
I'm famous for mumbling. I'm like, my wife tells me this constantly.
I was called Mumblar.
Yeah, that's it. Like we've started to learn more about having to sit upright and
project. I was just about to say that.
Do all the things.
I'm looking at the audio. Yeah, and it's like when I talk, it's going to the end.
Yeah, and like, but we're learning more and more about that. I've got the natural problem of my voice tends to be just deeper and lower, like it's more monotone, so I have to kind of like get excited and now I try to make sure that I
hands
up here. Thank you. Yes, that's a thing we also learned about, right? It's like if your hands slide down, what does it look like you're doing?
It doesn't look good.
Yeah, and so you look especially good because like you get like the Superman pose with the arms broadened out there, plus you know, down in that region. So but yeah, we learned a lot about that. We learned about just general on-camera behaviors. We learned flannel, not necessarily the thing.
Flannel's probably the worst thing you can wear on stream.
Now the thing is,
clashes with everything.
Yeah, but the thing is, we've actually learned, you know, some of the things because we went back and learned a few things from like Connell, who has more of like a broadcasting background.
Sean about lighting.
Sean very much about lighting. We'll have to probably poke him a little bit and see what we can do. But the thing I liked about it was like we learned a lot of these like classic informations, like flannel. But then you look at the stream and it actually worked okay because I think the way cameras have evolved over time and refresh rates and everything like that. So
just again, but nowadays it's just like don't wear a green shirt if you have green chroma.
I saw someone from Twitch actually tweeting with that the other day. Like they took some photos in front of like a marketing asset at at PAX East, and the person wore a perfectly green shirt and then stood in front of the green screen, and so all you see is like the logo of the shirt
floating head
and the floating head, and I was like, oh geez. Strangely enough, someone had a brilliant idea like that. So
and it's a thing. It's seeing Pringtella talk there. When you started streaming, it was screaming a lot, or some people are really quiet. Yeah. We went back and watched when we were doing our end video for Dragons and Donuts. We went back because we wanted to get the questions for the final stream, like the Q&A for the prizes. So we went back and watched a lot of the early episodes and the evolution in A, production value.
Yes. Oh, wow, yeah.
And B, just little things like sitting up straight. When we moved from the couch to the high chairs.
There's a very big difference.
How clearly we spoke, interacting with chat, a lot of stuff like that. It's just...
Oh, yeah. We took a lot of tips. Like, the great thing about, like, right now, what we're seeing at Blair's house is that we have this giant TV right in front of us so we can watch chat. And we see the same screen you guys are looking at with chat in the overlay here.
Yep.
And then, you know, and thanks to Captain Twaz for the overlay.
Twazzy!
How's it going? But then also, like, when we stream at home... We have our own setups. We've learned different things there. From the studio side, it was, you know, learning like, okay, put the camera directly over top of the TV that we were playing on. So whenever I was playing or you were watching me die a lot, you were looking more or less at the camera.
You were looking at the people watching.
You're making good eye contact, right? And that was important to us. We did learn that, you know, we often had chat off to the side. That's actually the problem I've developed over now the last while of moving my streaming room a few times is like trying to find the right balance of like, do you put chat where the camera is? Do you put the game where the camera is? Because if you're always staring at the people, then it gets a little funky.
No, I've been finding it's a lot better. I'm just going to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead.
Billy just rambles.
I do it.
I hate it. It's the worst thing in the world. I think I put the camera as close to my chat as possible.
Yeah.
Because it looks like when somebody asks a question and I read it out and answer it, it's like I'm talking.
You're making eye contact.
Exactly.
Right?
You try
you build that bond. That's important. I think.
Try to build that kind of bond. Yeah. So I guess maybe this is a game dev podcast.
Yeah.
But we're kind of talking about Twitch a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of where we're heading. Right?
I think we've learned a lot with that. Maybe we'll add some more of that into our podcast.
Yeah.
Things we've learned, but sorry, that just popped into my head.
Yeah.
We're free form here. We don't know what we're doing.
I didn't want you to go to that other word.
I was gonna, and I didn't.
Don't go that.
No, because iTunes doesn't like it when you swear or say lewd things, and you put up a podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so that's kind of how we got into it.
Yeah.
On Twitch and the Dragons and Donuts, and I saw that I think Wicked asked if we had a in memorandum video of Dragons and Donuts, and that was on the final episode.
Yeah.
I don't know if that lives anywhere.
I thought about actually trying to see if we had it stored somewhere. I'll have to ask Connell.
I'll ask Connell. We probably have it stored somewhere. I would like to get it up, even if it's just on my own YouTube or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Rob, Twitch and Gamedev is really fascinating. New topic, no complaints here. Awesome. We will keep doing it.
Yeah.
Just do a couple shout outs because there's a bunch of people in the chat. Psychotic Flaw, Captain Twaz helping us out a lot. Bella, Kiriana, Pringtella, you've all been around. Rob Tatchy, of course. From the beginning of Dragons and Donuts.
More or less,
It's pretty awesome.
Miracle Worker, we got to call
this community.
Sure,
it's a different kind of community. Like there's the Twitter community, but the Twitch thing, it's a totally different group of people. So segueing into that, when we decided to end D&D, because there was no directive from anybody at work or anything like that.
More just us being cautious.
Us being cautious. Moving on to new projects and stuff like that at the time. We didn't really want to say anything, get in trouble, right? You know, because if you're working on a new project, we might, in our banter, just start slipping stuff, right?
You get used to conversations and you just go, oops, I forgot to put that filter on.
Yeah, so we decided to end Dragons and Donuts. It was a good time too because it was our last content update and things like that. It sucked to lose the community, but maybe then, Billy, is that why we moved on to our personal Twitch? Because we always used to talk about... We really want to get our own stuff going. We did have a few test streams, I think, that year by ourselves. But like you wanted, you had a really good idea for when we ended D&D and why we both decided to. You convinced me, but both decided to do our own personal Twitches. And what was that? Yeah,
so I think for us, again, it goes to get back to a bit of that personal growth and learning. So we'd learned a bit of the hosting angle. We'd learned a bit of the community angle. We hadn't learned a lot of the technical angle, and I thought that would be a great way to have more people in the studio be familiar with using different tool sets and things like that. And actually, it just happened to work out that I use OBS and you use XSplit.
I use XSplit.
So the studio, I think we use XSplit as well. So, and then so it gave different opportunities there. For me, it was about the change of focus. We were going to go from Dragon Age, and that was our focus. That's what we were working on day to day. We were going to go work on Andromeda, and we knew that. We kind of knew there was a point in time where we're going to go to this. I knew I was going to have to disappear for a little bit. I had to go to a sabbatical. It was what HR was bugging me about. But when we came back, I said, we can't just stop streaming.
No,
but
we can't lose that community.
We can't lose the community. We can't lose the growth. We didn't want the muscles to atrophy, essentially.
Yeah.
And so
because maybe with Andromeda we do the studio might have a stream for that. We don't know, no idea what the plans are.
Yeah.
But we wanted to keep the chops up.
Yes.
And we really wanted to keep the people that had been following us for 8 to 9 months not suddenly feel,
hey, you walked out on me, man.
You guys are just gone now.
See ya.
So we both had started up our personal streams going on there.
Yeah, and I think for me it was there's a little bit of I was curious, could we bring back some like Mass Effect 3 multiplayer and just play that, because I hadn't played it in quite a while, and I was very curious about getting that. There's lots of little things, but I think ultimately it came down to that idea of like you said, it's don't let it go away. We built 9 months of a great relationship with folks. We liked hanging out with you guys, so we wanted to keep that going on. But it didn't make sense to spend works time that way anymore, right? We knew we were going to go from, we pre-allocated parts of our Friday mornings to do Dragons and Donuts. We could not do that and kind of like justify it back to the folks on Andromeda and say,
because it was providing no value to that project
at itself. That time. The studio maybe still would have seen some, but for a project, our time would have been better served.
We just had to change our priorities because there was a huge ramp up when you moved to new projects.
Oh God, yeah.
But no, it's you playing ME3MP because you're a huge MP guy. You love them shooters. I had never beaten ME 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
So that was the reason I picked that up on my channel in February, March, whatever it was. Because I'm like, okay, I need to actually get through these, or my boss is gonna finally kill me. So it's like when people talk about stuff like, oh, remember that moment in that game number 2 on that side mission? I'm like, nope, no idea what you're talking about. Have no frame of reference for talking with like designers and stuff who've been on Mass Effect for years and years and years.
And now when people say, I heard that Rex can die in the game, you can be like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, oh my God, really?
Yeah, no, he's super dead. He's super dead.
I'm so sad right now. I'm gonna fall out of my chair.
You should all be sad.
Yeah. I love Rex, man. Rex is good.
So that's the past. Going forward, we're obviously going to keep our personal channels going. If you guys have ideas for this podcast, things you want to know about the game industry, things you want to know about game development, or the producer role itself, just shoot us a DM or anything like that. Tweet at us. We'll gladly answer any kind of question like that. But moving forward, Billy, what are you playing on Twitch right now?
Yeah, so I think we'll talk about this. I think each stream, just kind of like do a quick recap.
Yeah, what are you doing this week?
What are we up to, right?
Yeah.
And I think we'll probably kick off most streams that way. So we've got an idea of how we want each stream to more or less go, or each podcast go. For me, I usually try to spend Sunday nights, so later tonight.
Sorry. Oh. Yeah, I did also kill a biotic god.
Yes, yeah, I heard the things. And
Kiriana was. I think a lot of people were mad about that one.
Yeah,
I just sent him in. I was like, well, he says he's a god, so just get in there, buddy.
He's just a poor little Volus, right?
Well, apparently he was.
Yeah.
Sorry. No. What? Yeah.
Sunday nights. So I think first of all we should say we want to do this every Sunday.
Yeah, this will be every Sunday at noon,
roughly. I had some issues this morning. I had to get a
one of us was ready.
Yeah. Blair was more or less ready. I stepped in dog poo in Blair's yard.
I told you not. Well, actually, I
didn't tell you.
You don't step in the grass in
the dog owner's yard.
Dog owner's yard. Exactly.
No, I made a mistake. We brought my my wife and daughter came over to meet Blair's puppies.
Yeah.
My daughter loves puppies. She sees them all the time. So
she was a little scared of ours.
A little bit. She gets nervous because she's shy. She's got a little bit of that stranger danger, probably healthy. So
good.
But yeah, so every Sunday.
Wait, what does that say about me?
What? No, just like just everybody. Like,
okay.
When she sees grandparents, like my
just backpedal, folks, backpedal.
I'm fantastic. As a producer, backpedaling is a key skill.
Be like, whoa, I was wrong.
I didn't say free. I meant to say
very
mostly
expensive.
Free. Yeah,
very expensive.
Yeah. Afraid of Finny. More just like I think actually more afraid of just like people not.
No, it was me and Sarah. Yeah. It was just like standing in the landing, like, "Do you want to see the puppies?
Yeah.
Do you want to?" She's like, "Ah."
She's talking at the end. So.
Yeah, she was
every Sunday noon Mountain is what we'll try to do here. Going back to the original question, what do we stream? So on Sunday nights, I usually try to do just like a random game, like just something that's fun. More and more now, my wife's trying to get more involved. She wants to hang out, and we did some Mario Kart a couple weekends ago. I thought that was a lot of fun. She gave me the stink eye a few times. It was fun. And then Monday nights we also do Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, which is the thing I like to do. We hang out with a lot of the folks in the community that we've played with over a while, and just continuing that. Over time, I'll eventually turn Mass Effect Monday probably into doing the trilogy playthrough. I want to do that before we get to Andromeda.
Yep.
And then throughout the week, it's mostly Division. You'll see me kind of tweet "Bearded Man does math poorly." So that's Math Division. I thought that was funny because I'm a dad, so dad jokes happen.
Awful.
And yeah, Disney Disney is a thing I do at home because of a 2-year-old
daughter. Play that game called Disney.
Disney Princess is a thing I think about a lot. Not the way other folks do maybe. But then it's mostly Destiny and Division right now, and then Mass Effect.
So with Division, because you're playing it a lot, and it does not. I played the beta, and it just does not appeal to me in any kind of way whatsoever. And I don't know. I kind of don't. What's up, CC Spectre?
Yo.
I don't know why it doesn't work for me in my head. I didn't like Destiny either. I think I did Borderlands as well. Was not a game that I was really digging. But I love MMOs. So like I played WoW forever. Played Dark Age of Camelot when it came out. So I'm just wondering what's the difference, because it's cover shooter, it's loot, end game progression. Like once you get max level, you're trying to gear out. I really loved the Dark Zone. I thought that was a very inventive way to do PvP. But why is that? Because you say it on your stream all the time. Why is that scratching that itch for you? The division of I don't know, is it the cover shooter aspect, is it the max loot stuff, is it the loot lottery, what's going on there?
I think for me we talk about this is where I think where the game side of the game development will come in, is just for me, it's looter shooters. It's.
I have found a flaw in our system here.
Oh yeah.
Private messages to you show up on the.
Oh yeah. Great. I don't think necessarily private messages, but yeah, it will show.
Oh,
up
if somebody
adds
you,
adds me,
okay.
or types me,
so
it'll highlight. So we'll see. We'll watch to make sure nothing bad happens. Thankfully, we got all the we got the mod wall.
Oh yeah, we got a wall of mods.
Right now, very
good.
strong.
You just mod everybody that shows up.
Someone say highlighted. Yeah. Anyway, but so. Basically, what I see for the most part, there we go.
Yeah, see, now you're private message.
Yeah, exactly. I cannot on the Mac. That's a problem. So
we'll figure this out.
Yeah, the Mac is a little bit different for OBS. So
be careful if you're private messaging Billy right now.
Yes, please, folks. Appreciate all the support, but don't type anything that we have to basically like not have
time
chat.
You out.
Yeah, either time you out or eventually not have chat on the window, right? Like,
yeah.
We'll be able to switch back and forth as we want to talk about different topics over time. Mm-hmm. We'll share the desktop and then show
assets and stuff like that.
If we're talking about like a game dev tool or something like that. Yep. So, but for me, it's the looter shooter stuff. I've always liked games that have a bit of a grind to it. Like for me, I used to do this thing where I'd play every single game available to me. And then I started getting down to this phase where we were working on Mass Effect 2, and I said, I was a QA lead at the time, and I said, team, the way we're going to know if Mass Effect 2 is shaping up is if we start treating this the way we were when we were like 14, could afford 2 games a year, essentially, right? Maybe you're older than 14, but you have a budget, you can only afford so many games a year. And at that time, I'd really pushed... I was buying like 2 games a month for a while. Like it was getting bad, but it was my job. I felt to know what was out there and do that. Over time, I started saying like, no, I got to get back to like, what if I only played 2 or 3 games a year and deep dive on each of them? And I found that looter shooters were always the ones that kind of like sucked me back in. And Mass 1 had a little bit of that. Like there's definitely like a lot of loot grind and progression, min-maxing on how you built everything. But it was when I got into things like I liked Diablo back in the day, but I prefer shooter rather than clicky.
Maybe that's what
Destiny. I think Destiny was that game that when it got announced, I was like, man, if you ever took Halo and solid gunplay, and then you put that like loot grind of like always improving your character, always doing things and repeating gameplay to me is fine as long as it's fun.
Yep.
And that's always been a thing for me. So. That's where that came in. Destiny was like my game. I played a lot of it. I'm not nearly as advanced as some of the other players in the chat right now, like where they've done like 5 raids a week or whatever. I've done like 5 raids total, but I enjoy it, right? Like that's where I like to dedicate my time. And then the Division was just kind of an extension of that. And actually, a few of us have been talking the last few days. Probably won't be Monday. I think I said Monday in the stream last night, but I think it's. More like next week, gonna definitely try to go into Borderlands because now with things like the Xbox Elite controller, I can actually play. They didn't have lefty controls. I'm a lefty, so that screws me over. But no, we talked about a little bit of what I've been up to. But like, how about like let's talk about.
Well, I'm just kind of actually wondering the Division stuff. Maybe for me, why I don't like it and why I didn't like Destiny either, because so like WoW has a huge grind once you hit max level, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. It's always like you want that last piece of gear. Yep. And I'm just thinking personally, maybe I don't like shooters, but that's kind of weird as well because I loved Counter-Strike growing up.
Mm. Yeah.
I actually didn't play Halo at all. I found it was too slow compared to something like Counter-Strike. It was felt like definitely like
a little bit floatier. Yeah.
And then maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's shooters and cover shooters are not. My forte.
Yeah. Did you play Doom at all recently?
I played Doom in the multiplayer. Yeah.
Yeah. Very twitchy. Very.
I liked it a lot. I found it
good palate cleanser.
For the beta. Obviously, very one-dimensional. So I didn't play it too much, just because I didn't want to get burned out of it on it, and then when it comes out, not enjoy it.
We did the same thing.
I had a ton of fun for like the hour I played it on the Sunday that it came out. You really feel like you're wrecking people.
Yeah,
and the spawns are so fast.
Is super fun. Yeah, right? Being a demon is like
a guy runs around the corner and you double shock him in the face, and you're just like, "Whoa, get some, dude!" Right, like that kind of the competitive killing. I really, really loved. I'm super excited to play the single player. I thought the campaign trailer really sold me on. I'm the Marine. And I'm going into hell. And it actually felt like, no, I'm humanity's last chance. Yeah. Like, it created that hero moment where I could actually place myself in that guy's role. And to me, a lot of people are saying it, for them it does, and for other people it doesn't give a throwback to the original Doom. For me it does, where there's tons of demons.
Yep.
It's not the scariness of it, which was like more the Doom 3 thing. People are talking more about the atmosphere. I think it nails the atmosphere, that it does feel like hell.
Yeah.
But for me it's about how many monsters can I get on screen.
Yeah.
All I have is a shotgun because that's a badass weapon. That's it, right? Like, so I'll definitely be streaming the single player. On my stream for single player playthrough.
I think that's the thing, is like Doom is a good example right now of like, right now it doesn't look like it has like a tremendous amount of progress or progression. It's got like a player level that looks like it does almost a very similar like aesthetic grind to like what we had in Mass Effect 3, where you got like your camouflage and your lights and stuff like that. But I think Doom's strength is going to be old school Doom, where it wasn't scary in the sense of like jump scares.
No.
It was scary in like, how do I survive this oncoming horde of enemies, right? Like, oh god, a pinky's coming at me, like what do I do, right? And you had to like figure out like how to do that, like the flying skulls, like everything was just coming at you in droves, and it was about quick movement, getting around, dealing with that threat.
With 8 HP left and
exactly,
4
like,
bullets.
Exactly, like try to make your run to like those little health pips if you could. So I think that's it. I love shooters. I've always enjoyed them. I think shooters and like NHL were always like the two games I always turned back to, like back as a teenager. But so I think that now, with I have to really allocate how I spend my time in games. That's, I think, what I like about like going back to the idea of like looter shooters. It's not even, I don't even think the looter shooters so much. It's that accompanied with like persistence, I think, is what drives me. Like that idea that like I'm making progress towards a single character, and it's just growing over time, right? So I think that's part of it that kind of gets me excited to keep playing. I will admit, Destiny, I think for moment-to-moment gameplay, probably stronger than Division. Division, though, I think we spent like half of the stream last night, like just getting a whole bunch of stuff, going in, doing the dailies, then doing a couple Dark Zone drops, and then like coming back and going like, oh, I'm gonna min-max all my gear to get my gear score up, and like that, like, as much as I always say I'm horrible at
that's
math,
the WoW
terrible,
theory crafting stuff.
Exactly. I love that stuff.
Love that so much in WoW. I come back every expansion for like 3 months. And
I see it.
Sorry, world. Gotta go.
Blair's missing meetings in the morning all of a sudden.
Gotta get my raid on.
I understand. I always said that if MMOs came to console and got into the shooter space, I'd be doomed. Like if PlanetSide 2 worked and had lefty controls, I'd have been doomed.
Had lefty control. That's the big thing.
Lefty controls is a big deal breaker. So let's go back to you then. So we talked about like, what have I been streaming? What have you been streaming lately?
Dark Souls.
Yeah, man.
Going through
doing a lot of dying.
Going through the whole series, except Demon Souls, because I don't know, that one looked really old. So Dark Souls 3 was coming out, and Dark Souls gameplay that I've watched had never looked like anything that I would ever enjoy. I don't know why, but something wasn't clicking. I love the atmosphere, the darkness, like dark fantasy. I love like the art of it. It looked really cool. I like the lore, the story. I like that there was a lot of mystery, but I watched gameplay and I'm like, nope, not for me. I don't want to die over and over and over beating a boss. And then after I started playing Dark Souls 1 on stream, and I killed my first boss for reals, I got it. And what it was a sense of mastery and a sense of accomplishment, because you put so much work into getting past freedom mode. We just took off all of our clothes and ran around and stabbed the guy.
So it's like being a child all over again.
Exactly, it was great. And all the monsters were like, why is this naked guy keep running past us?
That'd be amazing if confusion was a stat, right? It was a state you could put the enemies.
So what I loved with Dark Souls in the series, and 3 is amazing, probably there's a bit of nostalgia with 1, but 3 is probably the best one, gameplay versus looks and all that kind of stuff. But what they did, they solved a very real problem, I think, in gaming, where they took the mechanic of death and dying in a video game, so like say Mass Effect or Dragon Age or whatever, is a very immersion breaking moment where I've died or I've fallen off a cliff and I just get picked up and teleported back, or I have to load a save.
Screen,
I have to jump one meta layer out of the game.
You remind you're in the real world,
save, and you're suddenly reminder you're in the real world. What Dark Souls did, they did 2 things which were really great. One was they made death a mechanic in the game. So you will die, and it's okay to die. They created that early. It's like you shouldn't get you get frustrated, but you shouldn't be mad about dying, because it's a part of our gameplay mechanic, and it's about getting to these bonfires. And the second thing they did with it is that they made it a lore mechanic. So dying in the game actually makes sense for your character, it makes sense for the world. So when you die, you don't have that immersion breaking moment of like, oh god, I just died.
Yeah.
I got to load a game or whatever. So they did those two things really well. The third thing that they did, which is what I just started realizing lately, is Dark Souls games are 2D platformers from the NES and the Super Nintendo, where all it is about memorizing a pattern and getting to the next stage or the next bonfire. So it's like, I know this boss does these 3 things. I know running down this hallway, this is going to jump out, this guy rolls over here, and this guy jumps over here. And you're just hitting all these spots. And the more you play, like I remember sitting on Saturdays and it was, okay, I'm going to play Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yeah.
And I would you play it for hours.
You basically play it until your parents would like make you go to dinner, right?
And looking back now, I'm like, how did I have the attention span?
Yeah.
I think a little bit of it has to do with your thing where it's like, I can only buy one game.
Yeah.
Cause
so you really made use of it, right?
made use of it.
Yeah.
But also, it was a fun mechanic that games had gotten away from for a long time, I think, until these Dark Souls games came out. So it's scratching an itch for me of fantasy, swords, sense of mastery. It's hitting on a whole bunch of buttons, and I love the lore and the stories.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm all about. So we're gonna stream that until we beat it. Probably do XCOM until Doom comes out.
You do different streams on Sundays too, right?
Yeah. So Sundays we stream with Sarah. We play co-op games. Monday I got cooking.
Nice, yeah.
Tuesday is usually gaming.
Yeah.
Wednesday we'll do band.
Yeah.
Friday's usually gaming. Thursdays and Saturdays are off.
Yeah. So in the grand scheme of like of streaming, I guess you'd be probably more considered like what we think of like a variety streamer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas I think I started out more like dedicated to Mass Effect. In the early going, I started out with just Mass Effect, and it was only after I had to take a quick break. I had to take about a 2-week break, did some work stuff, and then came back, and I was like, you know what? I think it was at the time Fallout 4 had just come out, and everybody I knew that was still playing a lot of ME3 MP on their 360 is like, ooh, a lot of the retailers gave this incentive to go trade in your system, your old 360, and get an Xbox One or a PS4 to get Fallout. And I knew a lot of people did that, and that kind of interrupted my one game focus. So now I've gotten like
now you're trying to get more variety.
I'm getting a little bit more variety, but I'm definitely I'd say more focused on like a very specific couple of games
for a long time.
Yeah, exactly.
Where I'm using Twitch to play games that I wouldn't, because if I'm left to my own devices, I'll play League of Legends.
Yeah. No,
or WoW. I'll get hooked on one thing and I'll play it nonstop. The addiction loop or whatever you want to call
it. Compulsion loop.
Compulsion loop. Yeah, on League of Legends is unbelievable.
Yeah.
For me, for that kind of mentality. But yeah, it's different things. I'm using it to play games I've never had played before.
Yeah.
B, I need to finish. I found I had a really hard time finishing games, and I've now started to be what I call myself like a content tourist.
Yep.
Where it's like games on easy, playing through it. Like Last of Us, I was like, okay, we got a PS4 finally. They remastered it.
Yeah.
Easy mode. I just need to get through the story. I need to understand why people really like this game and stuff. Yeah. So
no, exactly. I was gonna say I almost approach it from I like that idea of that content tourist or game tourist. Is that I do the opposite almost of I don't necessarily put it down to lower difficulty, but I'm going to play to point X. Maybe it's like 30% of the game, and I go, okay, now I understand the core mechanics. I understand the draw. I understand the aesthetics. I understand like the overall loop of why this game is getting the attention it's getting, or why people are really excited about it. And then I go, okay, now I have to like start moving to this other spot because I only have so many times I can play games. So I like that idea. Like we talked about this a little while ago, but that idea of like using Twitch to motivate you to do different things. One, we talked about like when we started out, get better at public speaking, get better at
stop mumbling,
start projecting, start sitting up, and then getting more comfortable. But then also from the gaming aspect, I like that. You use it as this motivator to go play a different game. Like I bought some games recently and said, oh, like this would be great streaming content like Twilight Princess HD for the Wii U. I never got to play Twilight Princess because I didn't buy it on the GameCube. I probably should have. Bought it on the Wii, didn't like the waggle controls, so I put it down after like 15 minutes.
It's the Steam backlog problem.
Yes. Oh god, my stack log. I call it the stack log now. It's like this tall.
This thing's on sale.
Yeah.
Buy
it. Yeah, rainy day fund, right? Like, there we go.
Never play it.
Yeah.
Never play it.
Yeah. One that's coming up for me recently is we had someone in chat go, hey, you gotta go play Stardew Valley. I was like, I have to be very careful with that one because I really do want to check it out, but I also be like, that's gonna be a problem. Like that's a game I could go disappear in for like a month.
It's
all my other games stuff.
Homeward Bound, right? Like it's that kind of Pokemon Homeward Bound.
It's
farm building.
What's
thing?
It called? Harvest Moon. I think.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Not Homeward Bound. Yeah. Homeward Bound's like that amazing movie of dogs trying to get home wherever they were. Yeah. So.
Yeah, start answering some questions.
Tyler's approach was awesome.
So what a dev did at work, Tyler. You see him pop into the stream every now and then. He decided, because he's a huge XCOM fan, he was like, I am not going to buy the new XCOM until I get through my backlog in Steam.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the full backlog. He's like, I'm going to put in, I think it was something like 2 to 5 hours per game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, okay, I got it. I understand the mechanics. I've got to the first part.
Right?
And so he went through. He took all of January and February to get through them. And eventually, he was finally able to buy XCOM 2.
Yeah.
Mergelli, Dave, programmer at work too, has another great one. He's got a blog called. Well, we should probably link it at some point. Yeah. But it's I finally beat this game.
Oh,
or I
nice.
can't believe I beat this game or something.
Yeah.
And he that's how he that's his Twitch, right? That's his like I have a blog, so people need to be constantly updated. So and he writes a huge review on the game and going through it and what he felt at different moments, the mechanics and the lore or whatever, all that kind of stuff going through it. It's whatever you need. When you're in games, you got to play a lot of games.
Oh god, yeah.
And you need something to drive you. Otherwise, you'll just play the games that you love over and over and over.
Yeah.
And then you're not getting as a producer, a vision of the whole industry.
You need a broader spectrum.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah,
that's what it is.
Yeah. Actually, I talk about this with my wife a lot. This kind of goes into this topic, but it's that idea of like, I always say, I've got homework tonight.
Yeah.
And my wife was at first like, what do you mean homework? Like, you make video games. Like, well, what possible homework do you have? I'm like, I literally have to play this game. And she's like, you have to? Like, that's a pretty loose and fast way of using that word, have to, right? And I was like, no, but honestly, like, in QA, and now as a producer, it's the same idea, is that you have to know what's out in the market. You have to know what's achieving certain, goals or how it's approaching certain problems.
Yep.
And for me, that was always interesting because, it's fun to play games, but I was playing games I wasn't normally going to play. Like, there were certain games I was like, I wouldn't buy this normally. I might rent it, or I might, may not necessarily go after it, but, enough people have said I should look into it that I will, and that was kind of interesting.
And you learn little things, things you would love to do, or things you would love that something like this might work in game we're working on, or maybe they've solved a problem that maybe we're having, and can we do something similar, or how can we do it differently, or how can we do it better? You also learn things you don't want to do.
Yes, absolutely.
Just as you as a person, like the creative director of the game might have a totally different vision, but you at least can bring an opinion then to the conversation, because you're like, I played this, and this, and how they start their game I really didn't like because reason 1, 2, 3. And I feel like we're starting our game like that, and I had a bad experience, so did a lot of other people have a bad experience? And then you start to have those conversations, start to talk about them.
I think, I think I was going to say, just to touch on that, I think it's that idea of, talking about mastery, but it's also just, what to do and what not to do. Like, you have to know what's out there because of that, right?
Yep.
I think that's a good point. So
keeping up with trends in the gaming industry, it's pretty much half the job of a producer.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you learn anything today, keep up with gaming trends, so play a lot of games, and also being able to motivate and champion a vision or an idea from initial, the team comes up with this great idea. So here's an example. Maybe because we're at about an hour. We'll have like 5 minutes of questions, but maybe we'll end on this little anecdote. Because I know a lot of people from the Dragons and Donuts thing, you're all in the chat now, so you know about Virtuoso, Zither, and how he came to be, not from... So
there's two angles at it.
There was always the idea of we want, in the Dragon Slayer expansion, for multiplayer. It's like, hey, we're gonna have 3 new characters. Here they are. Well, we got this guy, that guy, and this guy. So Zither was one of them, and there was a whole game development side of that. Of what do we want? Well, I really want a musician. Blah blah blah. So that was one thing. The other thing was, how do we market this? How do we push it out? What are different ideas we can use? And one of the ones that we came up with, it was Sebastian, gameplay programmer, gameplay designer, and Luke, and a few others, like John Fuller, a few of the other, the combat room came up with this idea. It's like, what if we did, because Zither's such a cool, funny, quirky character, not meta-breaking, but riding a very fine line of being true Dragon Age versus real worldy.
Nothing too serious about him.
Nothing too serious about him. Which is kind of not true. Dragon Age always has a line of seriousness about it, even when they're having funny moments. But so he was this really weird character, and we're like, how do we present him? How do we deal with this kind of stuff? And then we had a leak. And somebody data mined a patch or something, and a few assets popped out. And we didn't talk about it, blah blah blah. So the people had a few images of him. We're like, hey, can we get ahead of this? What's something we can do? And it just so happened that April Fool's was coming around. So the combat room guys, and I was walking past them, they were just having a discussion about Zither, and they're like, hey, we know what would be really funny if we released Zither as the April Fool's joke, because BioWare always tries to do something on April Fool's. And I'm like, this is an amazing idea.
Convergence.
And I was just like, I'll be back. And then I spent the next 3 weeks trying to get that buy-in from marketing, from studio. Once you get the green light on that, it's like, okay, well, now I got to go make an asset. So I'm running over to Tyler, the lead GUI guy. I'm like, hey, can you make something for me right now? Can you? And so we, you start to work with the art director. Then it's like, okay, now we got the art director bought in. It's like, okay, well, let's have him in a flaming ring, and it's like he's at a Kiss concert and he's rocking his way out. And then you go to writing, and you ask the writer of the character, like, hey, can you write a really funny blog for his release? And you get that, and you got to go to community and be like, hey, here's our plan. Got to get it greenlit by legal. And so you start to. It was the first time I actually felt like a producer. Team came to me with an idea, and I'm like, awesome. I will get everybody on board. Let's do this thing, right? And so that's what I feel as a producer. You're a productivity amplifier.
Yes,
you're a
force multiplier. Right?
Force multiplier. That's the word.
Yeah.
That's the industry word you use. You take an awesome idea your team has, and try to balance it against the vision of the game, vision of the creative director, the goals of the executive producer,
the needs of the business,
exactly. And try to create some kind of compromise on both sides. And explain to both sides in terms that, because it's like the thing, an artist doesn't talk to a programmer in the same language. They might be saying the same thing, but they're not saying the same thing. And you are kind of that mediator between those things. But I needed a way to redeem myself for almost deleting DAI. So I had to sell the team's idea of Zither for April Fool's, and then it turned out to be a huge success. It did exactly what we wanted it to do, where people saw it and they're like, wait, but we thought it leaked, so is this real? Isn't it real? And we started to put that question into people's head, and then 2 weeks later we released the and here's the patch, and that guy's in it, and everybody's like, oh yes, he was so awesome, I didn't think he'd be real, and people loved him. He was one of the favorite characters. So
he was a lot of fun to work on. I think when we first heard a pitch about him, we're like, oh wow, is that are we gonna be able to make that fly? And it was actually the art director who said, like, I'd really like a bard. And Luke was working very closely with the design team at that point. He was kind of starting to make that transition from being QA to design, and he said, I'm going to run with this. I got this idea of like this aura twister essentially, and did some really cool stuff. And then like the way he was kind of, I guess, brought forward to the fans, like how he's presented or how you first introduced him, I thought was amazing. And that was all that's where that comes from. So I'm going to steal a little bit of thunder, because not thunder, but I want to say, like, there's one story.
Steal my thunder.
There's no thunder. There's probably some thunder out here. But like, talking about like things that like kind of made us feel like producer for the first time. I made the jump to producer role in Mass Effect 3. So I did ME1, ME2 in QA, and kind of worked my way through that tree. For me, it was the ME3 MP demo, and that was a thing where we knew that MP was going to be touchy, because everyone was like, no, like Mass Effect is my story, it's my Shepard. We hear that term a lot, like my Shepard, not Shepard, but my Shepard.
And it's true. It's what Casey and them, that was the design.
That was the intention, right? And so we said, okay, like let's run that. But then multiplayer kind of like, over the years that the game was in development, kind of like changed and mutated and evolved over time. But then as we got closer to the end, we said, okay, like we haven't really talked about multiplayer a whole lot. And then we said, when we finally did, we were aware that there could be a little bit of backlash, right? There could be people go like, ugh, like whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? Hey, BioWare, settle down. Yeah. And so we said, let's do a demo. And at first, I was one who's like, we got to be very careful if we're going to do it. Like, make sure that you show just enough that people understand it, but not so much that like you show everything up front and go on for there. So, but that was I was very fortunate. There was a series of circumstances where we had a producer that was getting ready to move on to other things. And they said, hey, you know what? Like, you've shown that you understand the mode, because I worked directly with it. I worked with the gameplay team, worked with the character art team, all the groups that were basically building a lot of the assets that would work. And I worked with Scylla, who was the DD in charge of like the online tech that filled into that. So we basically came together like right before Christmas, and we were getting the tap on the shoulder, like the final week in November, like, you're going to run with this. And we had a timeline of getting that demo ready from like the end of November until I think it was like the second week of January, and then it had to go live. And I was like, oh man. And then you throw in that there's like Christmas break in there too. So, but that was just, like the whole team saying, okay, like rounding up, okay, what can we show? Like, what do we want this to do? Working with the team, the leads, to kind of say, like, what are the goals of this? Like, making sure that we do show enough that you get hooked and you want to try more. And I think that was it, that was that final moment where you're like, okay, like, we're going to put this through, we're going to do all these things. Those are a few moments, like, you remember, I think those ones stick with you very closely of what kind of, like, what were those leaps that you took as a developer. So but yeah, so I think we're pretty close to time here. Maybe we'll take a few questions before we wrap up, and then again we'll do this every week. We got a few ideas. I think,
do it
next week we'll try to do how we got into the industry. Maybe
we'll talk about how we got into the industry. And I had another idea for another topic. Yeah. That's now totally out of my head.
All right.
So
we'll think about it. But every Sunday at 12 p.m. noon Mountain Standard Time. So we're 1 hour ahead of, I guess, Pacific time. If Mountain's kind of like an unknown, for a lot of folks. But I guess it'd be 10 a.m. 11 a.m. Pacific time, or 2 p.m.
The more you talk, the more confused
exactly. This is how work happens.
No, we really appreciate everybody coming here, checking out, and sitting in chat and discussing with each other, about production, about games. What qualifications do you need to become a game dev producer?
That's going to probably come up next week.
Yeah, that'll be next week. Yeah. We will absolutely talk about that. It's a very strange skill set. A good friend of ours, Ryan Treadwell, has a great article on Kotaku right now. He did an interview of what a producer actually is. I really recommend reading that. It's great insight into our job. Producer and DD, kind of side by side. He talks a lot about both sides of it, because the studio he's at, it's a dual role kind of thing. It is for us too, but a little less depending on your level.
It's like an 80-20 always, right? So,
so we'll turn this into a podcast. Try to get up on iTunes. Never done that before, so we'll see what happens with that. But we really appreciate it if you guys retweet when we're doing this. Get more people in here, get more discussion about the game industry. Awesome stuff like that. Answer your questions. We'll throw out a call for questions maybe on the Friday before. Yeah. When we let people know what the topic is and to bring things like that. Did Billy just approve of Kotaku?
No. I'll have to check out.
You haven't seen the article?
I haven't seen it yet.
No, it's really good. It's really good. It talks about talks about it a lot. About our role at least. Ryan worked with us very closely on DI.
I worked very specifically on all the usability testing for the game, especially for multiplayer.
Dragon Slayer, he was a big part of that.
Dragon Slayer, he led a lot of the work that got done there.
He's down there in Austin now at some hip studio doing the Doom multiplayer thing.
Yeah, I believe he's working with Doom and
or that studio does the Doom multiplayer. Halo multiplayer.
Certain Affinity. So follow Ryan on Twitter.
Follow Ryan on Twitter. He's a great guy. I don't know. So next week we'll talk about what it means to be a game dev producer, how we got into the industry. Let us know if you guys like this, what you want to see more of. This is totally fresh. This was the first one. Took us an hour to get it set up. My room looks like a disaster now, but
my basement's gonna be even worse. I think
probably
it's gonna be crazy. But I think we've got a lot of the stuff moving around, so we'll be able to figure out stuff. Have Ryan as guest. That's actually something that's something worth bringing up. We do plan to have guests over time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely we'll have guests.
You'll notice there's actually a fair bit of negative space here between the two of us.
So we can throw another head.
Yeah. Provided
somewhere.
a Skype call and everything works. You know. Oh my God. There was.
Oh, that's so weird!
What's happening?
Okay, that's really creepy.
Yeah. All right. This is why we have Miracle Worker.
Exactly, Miracle Worker, and we'll get Miracle Worker on the stream too one of these
absolutely.
times.
Yeah,
provide a lot of great tech insight for you Twitch streamers too as well. So yeah, throw us a follow if you like this kind of stuff. We'll be talking game dev. We'll be talking Twitch.
Yep.
We'll be talking the industry. We'll be talking games we like, what we like about them, what we don't like about them. This is just going to be pretty chill, pretty honest discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw a question real quick about, do we have to clear the topics? And I think that what we're going to talk about is fairly generic in the sense of it's game dev. It's not going to be...
Don't come here for BioWare secrets because you're not going to get them.
I don't think you'll get a whole lot of we won't be able to talk about Andromeda. I know a lot of people ask about can you talk about Andromeda?
We won't be able to talk about anything we're working on, which is that's
talk,
normal.
We'll talk more or less, I think, in broader strokes of
industry.
What is the industry? How's it work?
Experiences we've had on past projects.
Exactly.
How we overcame stuff, or how we learned a new skill, or what we had to do.
One topic I actually wrote down last night that I think will be interesting for folks, and I get a question a lot, especially when we go to things like PAX and whatnot, and they
talk about cons.
How do you do cons? How do you do live demos, right?
Yeah.
And Blair touched on this really, really early in the stream or in the podcast is how do you play the game and talk at the same time? And now we've learned over years of development, you don't do that as much as possible. If you can, send a producer to talk and send another person to drive.
Yep.
Blair and I think had both experience being the driver of demos over the years. I think now we've said, hey, the next evolution for us is to become more of the talkers too. So we do a lot of talking at work. We practice it fairly high, and then obviously our streams too. So guys, if you haven't already, you can hit follow on my channel here. We're streaming today on twitch.tv/alien.
Next week we'll be on twitch.tv/thefids.
Yep.
We will get this up on iTunes, hopefully in the middle of this week.
Yep.
But yeah, size 16s, you missed it right at the end there. Thanks everybody for coming in.
Yeah.
A lot of people I haven't seen before, which is nice, like size 16s, Author Phoenix, and then of course all the regulars like Wicked, Captain Bella, Kiriana, Erg the Great, Patrick, and all the rest. So I guess that's it for today.
We'll hit stop recording here.
Thanks,
folks.
everybody.
Thank you so much, folks.
Really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun for us. It's fun to talk about work, fun to discuss games with you guys and with Billy. But yeah, throw us some ideas for what you want us to talk about, and we'll see what's going on next time. But I guess that's it. So thanks for watching Producer Hacks, a game dev podcast where we talk games and the games industry and Twitch.
And let's take it to the top.
Let's take it to the top.
Top of the mountain.
We're making something great again.
Yes.
America great again.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, folks.